alert is sent back to the phone so that the user can respond accordingly. If all the messages were received, however, this data is then parsed and then stored in appropriate tables in the database. From there, we've got an Apache web server which is able to, you can display these reports on the different data that is received and placed into the database. So there's actually a pretty neat set of reports that can be run on this data, and as well as some other neat features that we'll show a little bit later. We also have a wiki up for this project. Basically, that's not for the entire process, but more for our internal documentation. Kind of shows how we've come along in the process and the lessons that we've learned. It also allowed for some collaboration amongst teams, so that way if someone figures out something, we can write up a tutorial on how we figured that out, and then other teams can use that, and other people can use that for anything else that they need to do. We also have an SVN repository up, which allows for a central location for the code. This allows for anybody on the team to be able to go in and edit the code, and then that'll be stored in that one specific location, so anyone has access to the latest version of that code. If anyone messed up the code for any reason and they weren't able to fix it at that time, SVN also supports version management, so we can always just roll back to changes that we had before, so that we can get the project back up and running again.
Okay, so before we go ahead and show you guys a demo, I'm just going to talk about a little bit of the accomplishments of our project as a whole. This project was done in conjunction with two classes, a database course and an information systems course. And in each course we had two separate teams, making 4 teams. So first we had the user experience team, and the user experience team was able to modify and enhance the Java Rosa code, which was convenient. We were able to contribute to the open source community for OpenRosa. We were also able to successfully render the CHARMS dataset surveys. So that consisted of 3 different forms, which we'll get to in a moment when I show you the demo. And we were also able to prepare and transmit the data via short message service. The data management team was successfully able to set up the SMS receiver service that Matt told you about, Upside Wireless. And they also created a user document, which is very helpful in showing these site workers exactly how to use the phone. A lot of the site workers may not have even touched a mobile device in their life, and so it's very important that they know exactly what to do and how to use the form that we created. So they also were able to have alerts sent back to the mobile device. Like Tyler explained, if there's a problem with a certain child or a certain household, data can be sent in the form of an alert.
So the database class was also split up into 2 teams. So the data parsing team did a great job writing the parser. Bethany was the lead charge on that. She's sitting right over there. She did a great job with that, which allows us to take this generated output from the phone that has all this XML, the headers and tags and all this code, and then parse out, take out all the important pieces of information, put that in the database, so that we can call on that and get nice clean data and be able to read it and know what it means. Then they also created this timeout algorithm. One of the problems that we ran into is, well, how do we know if we got all the information that was being sent? What's a good amount of time to say, okay, well, that package just lost, and we have to go find that information again. So they were able to use something called a cron job to go through the database and look at what time the message was received, because each form submits, say, 5 text messages per form. Make sure all those text messages go together, and then once they've been deemed that they're all there in process, then they can go to the database. The second team is a database kind of reporting team that designed the database and set everything up there. And they were also the reporting team where they wrote all the reports. They did this through the web using PHP, so they can customize reports really fast. You can take out whatever out of the database that we need. World Vision can then, when they take this project over, can then also be able to pull out the little bits and pieces that they need to make the reports that they want. Everything's really simple to use that way. So I think that's about all we have for going on with the accomplishments as we switch over to the demonstration. Just keep in mind this is something that's done on paper by hand and took up to 3 months to do.
Okay, so as you can see, we have a demo that we videoed, and this is a version of the form. And so you can see me typing in the child's first name, and then I abbreviated the last name. We have the child's unique ID, as well as the household ID. We move on to the gender, whether it's male or female. We have the age of the child, mother's first name, and then we enter the mother's last name. So just some general information about the household. So we have the father's last name, or the father's first name, sorry, and the father's last name. So here we have a conditional statement. If I say that the mother is dead, the question will then ask if the father is chronically ill. If we go back and we change the answer to say whether or not the father is dead, it will ask if the mother is chronically ill. And then, likewise, if we go back again and say that both are alive, it will ask whether or not the father is chronically ill, in which we can actually select multiple selections, and we go to the next question. Then it asks if the child is disabled or not, if they are chronically ill, whether or not the child is registered, if they're of school age, and then it moves on to ask whether or not the child is receiving external support. And so then here we have a few questions where we can actually select multiple selections for the different child needs and what kind of support they may or may not be receiving. And so, select next. And then here we have the screen where it shows whether we're going to send now. And so if you select now, I don't know if you noticed in that quick moment, but we actually didn't have cell phone service in that moment. And so, as you can see, the text message will fail in the sending process. And so this is one of the functionalities that we worked out toward the end of the semester. What would the site worker do if the text message failed? Searching for service in front. And we see that the text message sending failed. And so you'll see that I'm now going to enter into the directory of forms. And in the directory, you'll see the form that I saved, as well as forms that have been saved from previous test cases that we ran. So I can actually go in and select to send all unsent. And it will actually send any unsent survey when the cell phone does receive service.
Okay, so a few of the lessons that we learned throughout this entire project. Well, we learned a lot about Java Rosa, which is basically what we use in the whole mobile application. And this actually gave us a lot of awareness to the open source community. And it's neat because, I mean, a lot of us use Mozilla Firefox or some other open source applications, but we never really contribute back to that open source community. So we thought it was really neat that we were able to actually find some bugs in the code of Java Rosa, actually able to fix it, and then actually able to get that into the latest version of Java Rosa. We also were able to enhance some of our technical skills. We learned a lot about XForms, which is an industry standard, which will be helpful in the future. We learned a lot about Java as well, and more specifically J2ME, which is Java's micro edition, which is mainly used for mobile devices. As Joy said, we also learned about Ant-Build and how that can definitely help produce and streamline the way that we render different projects. Also, another neat experience was that this was a service learning course. And so, like we've said multiple times, the partnership between World Vision and Messiah College has really allowed us to use our technical backgrounds for, to create this